cutlery line here at Bed Bath & Beyond. We carry most of the assortment in store, but the entire assortment can be found online. So the odd end pieces, paring knives, boning knives, fillet knives, the non-conventional knife, you can find online. So, 100% handmade, installing in Germany, forged, and it is a full tang knife. So the steel runs completely through the handle. It's one solid piece of steel. The connecting piece here between the blade and the handle is called the bolster, and it's curved out. We were one of the first ones in the market to really kind of dabble and experiment with how to really redesign a knife, because essentially it's just a blade and a handle across the board. So, you know, traditionally you really want a blade to be an extension of your hand. You don't want to feel nervous using it. You don't want to feel not as confident as you would like to using a blade. So traditionally, a lot of people hold knives like this, with a finger on top, or they would hold them like this. The most natural way to hold a blade would be using the pinch grip, which would be you would take your thumb on one side of the blade, index finger on the other, essentially just pinching it at its most center point, and then wrapping your 3 fingers around the blade. So thumb on one side, index finger on the other, and then you wrap your 3 fingers around the blade. So you take your three fingers, wrap them around completely. Take that and drop it. Thumb, index finger, bingo, bingo.
Oh.
So that way, if you do slip or everything is tucked away, everything is protected, exactly, and you want the blade to be an extension of your hand. You want it to really feel natural and to have the most control over it. So this, your wrist is right over the blade. You have all your weight sort of in the center point of the blade, so you have that control and stability. Like this, and kind of toss either way. Same thing here. So you want to pinch it and then wrap your finger. And the curved bolster allows you to do that with comfort. Any questions? Right? Yeah. Any questions so far on Tooling Pro or just German cutlery in general?
Earlier you talked about forged. What does that mean?
So forged is a production technique used to make cutlery. Forged really is you have a blade and the steel is stamped out. So the original shape is stamped out, and then the middle portion of that raw stamped out steel is heated and compressed to form this chunk of steel here, the connection between the blade and the handle. So that is really stability between the blade and the handle, so it will not snap at the base. You can see I could bend this knife pretty hard. I'm putting, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pounds of pressure on here, and it will not snap at the base. There are other type of cutlery production standards that you can manufacture your cutlery, so a stamped knife would be a different way as opposed to forged. And stamped knife, you do not have this chunk of steel. You don't have this bolster, this chunk of steel connecting the blade to the handle within stamped knives. But forged knives, you do.
So the forged has nothing to do with the blade, it's more so.
Nope, the forged is a construction. It's a construction technique. So when searching for premium quality cutlery, you always want to look forged. So.
And just, earlier you mentioned full tang.
Yes.
Why are you considering full tang?
Yeah, so full tangs are always ideal. You really want the steel to run completely through the handle. First, it adds weight. So it adds weight, and it gives the knife its balance, and for more sturdier blade. Some blades are 3/4. The tang only runs 3/4 of the way. Some are stamped and a quarter tang, but a full tang gives you that entire durability. We good so far? Mm-hmm. All right. So that was really just kind of a quick background of German cutlery, Tooling Pro line that we have here at Bed Bath. Next, we're going to get into sharpening. So first, who's seen one of these? You've seen them. you seen this before?
It's happening, right?
Technically no, but we'll get into it. So this right here is a honing steel. It's not a sharpener. It's not going to put an edge onto your knife. It just maintains the current edge of the blade.
Honing.
Exactly, honing. It is called a sharpening / honing steel, but it's not going to put an edge back onto the blade. So, for example, each time, say you buy a new blade right out of the box, it's going to be razor sharp. Every time you use that blade, the edge gets kind of thrown out of whack. So right out of the box, picture, I mean, I'm just using this as a visual, but right out of the box, your blade is pretty much even like that. And then over time, every 2-3 times you use a knife, the edge kind of gets a little out of whack. And particles, microscopic particles, get thrown to the side. And they can pull and tear at whatever you're cutting. What the steel does is realign that edge from this to back to normal again, to prolong the sharpness of your blade. So over time, every 3-4 times you use your knife, it's good to use the steel. And all this is doing is realigning that edge to prolong the edge of the blade so you don't have to sharpen it as often. Because theoretically, you really only want to sharpen a blade, I mean, maybe once a year. If you have premium quality cutlery, it's built to last a lifetime, but eventually every knife will dull. Except premium quality cutlery dulls a lot slower than your more inexpensive blades. So every 3-4 times you use your knife, it's good to hone it. So make sure this is facing vertical like this on a solid surface.
Can we stand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys can stand up, or you can sit down.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure it's on a solid surface that doesn't slip. I mean, it's a little slippery here, but at home you want to make sure it's on. If you have a kitchen towel or like a rubber trivet, you just want to make sure it's solid and it's not going to slip anywhere. So, place your steel vertical like so. You would rest the base of the blade on the bolster of the steel. So this angle right here that I'm resting at, you could use the bolster of the steel as a guide. It's roughly about 12 to 15 degrees. That's just about 80% of the cutlery. German stainless steel cutlery is sharpened to that angle. So you want to use the butt of the steel as a guide. Hold the knife onto it at that angle. Little pressure, pull straight to. Little pressure, pull straight down to.
You can feel it every now and then, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to do this every few times you use your knife. It's good to steel it to remove all like the grit and extra particles that are attached or that are thrown out of whack. Yes.
I read somewhere where they were saying that you should tilt this needs to be at a certain angle or a certain degree.
So it's all about technique. If you can maintain an angle, a lot of times you see a lot of chefs in the kitchen, doing this, and they're doing that just because they don't have the time to kind of clear counter space and do it this way. So they're just doing that really quick to knock off and realign their edges. But really, when you hone your knife, you want to maintain that edge. So the easiest way to do that is up and down. Little pressure and pull through. And you want to maintain that angle all the way through. So,
how many times a week should we do it? Do you feel comfortable?
2-3 times on each side. You're just realigning that edge. You're just knocking off the excess grit in the misaligned steel. It's not putting an edge back on. It's just maintaining that edge so you don't have to sharpen it as often. Questions? Now the coffee, are you good? You good?
Because of coffee, I'm here.
All right. So you good with honing? Is everyone good with honing? All right, perfect. Awesome. So, eventually, you're not going to be able to hone your knife anymore. Your knife is going to be dull. Eventually, every knife will dull, except the premium quality cutlery does a lot less faster than lesser quality cutlery. So eventually, your knives will dull, and you'll be the judge of that. If you're honing your knives and you're still not getting, your knife isn't cutting performance, then you'll have to put an edge back on. And that's okay. Yes. I've had mine for about 3 years, and I use them. I still have the same one until the grooves start really wearing down. You see it's grooved here. Until they start wearing down, then it'd be time to replace.
What kind of metal?
Eventually, if you're using it, yeah.
What kind of metal?
So you always want to match it up. It is stainless steel. When shopping for steels and whatnot, you always want to keep them in line with the cutlery that you purchase. So it's more of like the trade up, trade down effect. So if you have a really high end, premium color, if you have a Swooling Pro, you want to get the steel. If you're not buying a set, the steel comes with it. You always want to purchase a honing steel within that line. You want to keep the steels sort of in line. You don't want to hone your knife with a lesser quality steel than what your blade is constructed.
Would that ruin the knife or something?
It won't ruin the knife, but you won't get the highest performance out of your steel. So you always want to keep them in line. You always want to trade up.
Difference between this and this.
The same. Oh, it just has a hand. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This has a handle on the end. Anyway, so, any questions on honing?
No.
While storing in the drawer, like this one is the head. Do I lose any?
Just make sure you're not grinding on it. If you put it in the drawer, just make sure you're mindful of how you store it and it's not getting kind of thrown around.
I'm sorry, John. Did you say when? How long does it replace? Every year? 2 years?
It's all in. It depends how often you use it. I mean, you have to be the judge. If you're looking at it and your grooves are still, you can run your finger. If your grooves are still, if they're not flat, once it's getting flat, then it's time to replace your steel. But as soon as you still have the grooves in them, you're pretty good.
And are these dishwasher safe?
Yes, they are. So, if you honed your knife and it's still not cutting to what you expect it to, you're going to have to sharpen it. So, right now you have in front of you your Swooling Stone Pro. This is a double-sided stone. The first side is a 250 grit. The reverse side, you can pop it open and pick it up, and it is a 1,000 grit.
Wow.
The 250 is really coarse. I have some paper towels, or you can get your hands dirty. So the 250 is really coarse. The 1,000 grit is very smooth. When you sharpen your knife, it's really good to start on the lower grit, especially if you have a knife that's extremely dull or has little chips and nicks in the blade. You want to start on the coarser stones. Yeah, it's got grips on the bottom.
Pretty cool.
So once your knife is pretty much shot, if it's dull, if it has any chips in it, you'll need to sharpen it. So this is water. So these new stones, this Swooling Stone Pro, you don't need oil. So in the older stones, 10, 20, 30 years ago, when they manufactured stones, you would have to use oil. These are water-based stones, so they're a lot easier to maintain, a lot more economical, so they're water-based. So what you want to do, you want to add a little water to it. Now, real quick, this knife is still pretty sharp. So, for example, let's see. So it's pretty sharp right now. So right now I'm going to dull the knife just to kind of give you guys. If you guys could just like watch right now, I'll give you a quick demonstration and then I'll let you have at it. So, right now I'm dulling the knife right now, so that I'm not doing any type of sharpening. I'm just doing this as a teaching tool. So I'm dulling the knife just to show you how to bring it back. So pretty much dull. Now this shouldn't cut through the paper. So it's just pulled it really, that's just a weight. So it's pretty dull. I can take it up and down to my hand. I mean, the knife is completely dull. The edge is rounded completely. So just to give you guys an idea how easy it is to use stones. Some people get weary when they hear, oh, sharpen your knives manually. They think it's a big project. They think it's going to take a while, or it takes technique. Yes, it's going to take you know a few times to practice, but you're talking minutes, not years or months. So right now the knife's completely dull. So with that same angle, which we just learned that you want to hone your knife at, you want to sharpen it at that same angle. So if you were to lay a matchbook down on this stone, does anybody have a matchbook on them or no? So if you were to lay a matchbook down right on this stone and rest the knife right on that matchbook, that is roughly about the angle in which at least our Swimming Pro knives are sharpened to. So maintaining that angle, apply pressure to the blade, and you can start. This is sort of the most basic way I'm going to show you. It's the easiest way to learn. Little pressure, maintaining that angle, and you push forward and reverse it. Little pressure, and then pull towards you. So whatever you do on one side, you want to repeat the exact same thing on the other. You just want to keep everything symmetrical in line. You don't want to sharpen the one half of the blade or run it on the stone 4 times and then the other half at once. You want to keep it, all in tune. So 4 on one side, 4 on the other, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. You want to keep everything in line. So, and just applying pressure, you can work your way up and down the blade or up and down the stone. As you see, I'm just slowly sliding the blade. You can see, right? Slowly sliding the blade up and down the stone to get the entire blade. Now you'll see your stone starting to dry out here. You want to always keep it lubricated just to reduce the friction between the blade and stone. So you want to get a little nice shine with water and then continue. You can also sweep at it to get all in one motion. If you don't want to continue just working your way up and down the blade, you can use a sweeping motion. And at first, you might not get it at first, but it's all about trial and error. So, trial and error, the right angle, and pressure. That's really the variables. So, now it should be a little better. From YouTube. Yes.
I have entry-level knives. Can I still sharpen them? Josh Arnold.
You can. Yeah. Any knife, any fine-edged knife, you could sharpen on the stone. Whether it's a kitchen cutlery knife, kitchen shears, anything with a fine edge to it, you could sharpen using the stone. You don't need any particular knives to use on any particular stone. So, hope that answered the question. So, let's just see if it does a little better. So it's getting there. So slowly but surely, add a little more water. And like I said, it's just trial and error. So I wasn't really happy with how that cut through that piece of paper. So you just take it to the stone again. Try one more time. It should be better. So it's a lot better. Probably one more time I'll take it to the stone. It'll be close to where it was at before. But if you keep working it, usually 5 minutes or so, you can almost basically bring the knife back to its factory sharpness. So as you see, I mean, this was the cut right out the box. You see it's pretty fine. This was the re-sharpened cut, but you see it pulls a little bit on here. It's pulling, you see the excess piece of paper. So to really get a finer cut, you would flip the stone over. This is a smoother stone. Really what this is going to do is kind of just keep that edge, really refine that edge, knock off all the excess dirt and grime and bits that are still on the blade from the 250 grit, from the coarse stone. Knock those off and smooth it out so you don't have that pulling at the paper and eventually on. So, same method that we were using, that I used on the 250 grit, we want to do on the 1000. So. Just a few passes. Now shouldn't pull as much. So that was the pulling one. That's the 250. Just being a little less. A little less. So it is trial and error. It's all about the angle and the pressure, and eventually, first few times, just to kind of get your technique down, it might take a little bit, but that's the start. Water, you're good. You're good. So,
even stainless steel knife can be sharpened.
yes, yes. Any fine edge knife. Any fine edge knife that is sharpened either one or two sides, you can sharpen it to any angle on stone.
Different between regular knife and stainless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. What is it? Regular knife.
What's a regular knife?
They don't really stainless.
It's all steel quality, so
Steel by stainless.
steel quality, so you have your premium quality cutlery will be a harder steel. It'll hold its edge for a lot longer than lesser quality. You can sharpen the knife virtually pretty much to the same angle, but the lesser quality steel knife is not going to hold its edge as long as
I'm afraid to try. Stainless is a different process. Stainless steel. Stainless steel is a different kind of steel.
it's all about deal with the metal content, nickel content, carbon content. It all determines the strength of the steel. So you exchange the variables in those contents. Will either greaten the hardness or greaten the durability or lessen drying. So it's all about the material of the components that manufacture. How we do? Yes, yes.
What is the stainless steel? No, but not
Stainless steel stays less than 100%. So you want to try going straight like this.
Straight is better.
Straight is better. And what you would do is maintain that angle,
But see, that way it's harder for me.
and straight back.
But I think I got the other way, so we can also just
You
put
can
the
do,
whole thing
yeah.
on.
So you could do,
Just pull it.
yeah, yep.
This I get. I get that.
Yeah, you can do that and then flip it and then pull. Exactly, and then you would work your way up and down the blade.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, if I'm doing it that way, try to get it one swoop. It's kind of like this,
Yeah.
just like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You can either start. Yeah. Exactly. You could start them on the high end like this. You just take your blade through, and then same thing here, and just push it through.
Okay.
Bingo.
Like
Yep.
that.
Exactly.
Try that, Nordy. Try to go like this.
So you could either, if you're going to, you could swoop. You could start in,
Yeah. And then just
push, pull, and yep, right to you. Yeah. You just want to make sure you use the entire length of the stone for wear. Because if you're just using in one section, you're going to wear a groove into the stone, and it'll be sort of dipped. Anybody have any questions about cutlery in general, sharpening techniques?
Does this need to get replaced?
So the stones, the question was, do the stones need to get replaced? This should last you an entire lifetime. Like I said earlier, you don't sharpen your knives every day, once a month, twice a month. Really, if you're using premium quality cutlery, ideally it's really good to sharpen maybe once a year. If you're using that knife every single day, just to fine tune it, because you're removing steel from the blade. You don't want to sharpen your knife every time you use your blade. Because eventually, I mean, if you sharpen your knife every day, you'd be left with a nub of a knife because you remove steel from it each time.
Cheryl C is asking, how do you store your knives when not in use?
So you always want to store them. If you have a knife block, it's really nice to store them in a block. Like this guy, let me move it a little closer. It's nice to store them in a block. One, it's wood, so if you hit the sides of the block or whatnot, the wood's going to give and it's not going to put pressure on the blade itself. You just want to make sure you dry it completely before putting it away. Knife sheaths, very similar to these. These are pretty basic. They're just kind of a plastic sheath, and you would just slide the knife right into them and put them in your drawer. You can buy these at bedbath.com. Really any houseware store, you can probably find those. And they're very inexpensive. The plastic ones, you're probably looking at a few bucks for 20 of them. But those are really the best way. Yes, sorry. There we go. Yeah, so.
So now we're just finishing this.
Exactly. So right now, you're gonna knock whatever burrs and stuff are left behind from the 250 grit. You're gonna really smooth it out. You're gonna redefine that edge. Great, less pulling when you. Here's some piece of paper too. You guys can try it out. Yeah.
Kind of like you do your technique on the mic.
It's all about the technique. As long as you maintain that angle and the right amount of pressure, the way you feel comfortable sharpening your knives it's all up to you. There's really no. I mean, I could just suggest a few ways to do it, but other techniques are better suited for certain people.
I'm a little clumsy, so forgive me.
Do you recommend hand wash or dishwasher?
So, I mean, it's. I always recommend to hand wash. We are a dishwasher safe product, but it's so easy to just take a blade when you're done with it. Instead of throwing it in the sink, leaving it in overnight, rinse it off, a little soap, a little water, and just wiping it clean. We are dishwasher safe, so you can use the dishwasher as well, but always just be mindful of the settings that you use on your dishwasher, the detergents, and make sure if you do use a dishwasher, make sure they're in a slot. They're not going to knock around in the spin cycle, so you just want to make sure they're secure. But we're dishwasher safe, but we always recommend to hand wash. How we doing?
Yeah.
Good. That looks good. That's good. Have you done this before or no? Really good. Other side. So
You want
just don't cut me.
okay.
Just pull one swoop.
They got over sharpened. It's not sharpened anymore.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good. So any questions so far? I mean, we're pretty much to the end, but so honing steel is really to maintain your knives. These aren't going to put an edge back onto them. They're just going to knock off all the excess burrs and realign the edge so you don't have to sharpen it as often. Once your knife do go dull, you have to put an edge back on, and to do that, you would use Zwilling Stone Pro.
Connie is asking,
Yes.
how do you sharpen serrated knives?
Serrated knives, good question. What have one here? So serrated knives are tough. Fine edge knives, I'll go to fine edge real quick. Fine edge knives you can sharpen any fine edge knife on a stone because it's all about the angle and the pressure in which you hold that to put the edge back on. Serrated knives, it's not a fine edge technically onto the blade, so you would have these dips and rivets, and the different serrations vary tremendously across the board. So some serrations are a lot higher, shallower, deeper than others, so there's really no standard method out there to sharpen serrated knives. There are some serrated knife sharpeners out there that will help, but not necessarily potentially bring it back to its factory setting, but they do help. We always recommend to use a professional. Either Google your local master bladesmith that's in the area. They'll do them by hand, and you'll probably get the best performance out of resharpening a serrated blade from a professional rather than some other methods out in the market. But they do work, but the best way we always recommend is professional. That's good? Any questions? All right.
Good.
All right. Any more questions for you guys at home? All right. So we're going to wrap it up. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. John with Henkel's, and for a more in-depth look, if you really couldn't see, or I don't know if you could zoom in, but if you couldn't see really what I was doing, you could always YouTube how to use a sharpening stone. Really easy. There's a bunch of guys out there that are doing them, and it'll be a good teaching tool for you guys if you want to pick one up. They're available in most Bed Bath & Beyonds throughout the country, and obviously there's available on bedbath.com. Bed Bath
And beyond.
bedbathandbeyond.com. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you guys learned a lot, and
Where to get it?